Hey folks, we finally made it out here to Clovis, California. We're at Valley Chrome Plating, and I gotta tell you, man, I am fired up. We've been selling their product, selling bumpers for them for over 30 years. And guess what? I'm seeing this today for the first time. I've never been here. Now, Four State Trucks, we've sold, I can't begin to tell you how many Valley Chrome bumpers and Valley Chrome products. I've probably personally sold several thousand. They are kind of the go-to. For most of you out there watching, they are who you go to for a chrome front bumper, a rear T-bar, stuff like that. It's a family-owned business. We're going to have a lot of fun today. Let's go in here and catch up with Ray and Matthew. They know we're coming. Hey guys!
Brian!
Hey, Matthew, Ray.
The elusive Brian Martin. Boy, we've never seen you around here before.
I'm fired up to be here.
Welcome
now,
to
it's
Clovis.
been 25, 30 years of working together, selling Valley Chrome bumpers and whatnot, and it's our first time out here. So we want to do this like a how it's made. You know, so many of our guys, they buy these bumpers, you know, every 3 or 4 years, and they're proud to wear them. But can we get a behind-the-scenes look, like from start to finish? How does a chrome front bumper come into existence?
Absolutely. You know, you threw this idea to us a few weeks ago, and we thought it was a great idea. You know, you've done a heck of a job for us over a lot of years of selling our product, and we appreciate it, and we're happy to do that for you today.
If a guy wants that one-off custom bumper, wants a certain light cut, wants his name cut in it, Valley was the place to call, and that holds true today.
And you know, that's how we basically built our reputation, was not building the bumpers that everybody else could build, but building the wider ones, building the American Eagles, you know, building the ones with different cuts and different light holes. So it's been a challenge, but you know, that's what we want to be known for, is the custom bumpers. We make a lot of the regular ones, but still the custom one is our niche.
For sure.
And we tell our guys out in the plant, if you're not going to put that on your own truck, don't send it out.
There you go. That's what keeps them coming back.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot going on today. Where are we going to start this tour? Are we going this way or this way?
Let's go that way and check out the manufacturing.
Come on. So, Valley Chrome's been here a long time. If I remember right, started back in the 60s, didn't you?
It did. My dad was a steel worker in Gary, Indiana in 1961 and got tired of it and loaded all the kids up in a station wagon and took Route 66 out to California and bought a third of Valley Chrome plating for $12,000. So that's how he started.
Neat story.
The other thing is, you know, Ray's the eldest of 8 kids. I'm the youngest. And at some point, all 8 of us have cycled through. 6 of us landed and are still here running the company. And we've all got our different aspects of the company that we run. So it really makes for a good team. Working with family isn't always easy.
And that was in 61.
That was in 61.
Here we are today. A lot of things have changed. A lot of growth. You started out in the automotive, like car bumpers, didn't you?
Yes, my dad was basically the company salesman, and he would ride around to all the body shops to see all his buddies, and he'd pick up car bumpers that got wrecked, and we would straighten and chrome them. And that's what we did. You know, we started early in the late 60s, about 1967, building our first chrome truck bumper. A trucker came in with a Kenworth that had an 8-inch bumper on it, and he wanted a 16-inch. So my dad said, you know, I think we can do that. So we went and got a piece of steel and had a local company bend it for us. Then we polished it by hand and chromed it, and that's how we started out.
Talk about just changing times. You're talking about late 60s, early 70s. You took an 8-inch and the guy wanted a 16.
Exactly.
Now they've got a 16 and they want a 20 or a 22 or a 19 tapered up to 21, vice versa. A lot of stuff has changed. You know, unless you sit around and really dwell on it, in the 70s and 80s, there wasn't really a lot of truck customizing. I mean, if you had a big bumper, some extra chicken lights, and maybe a set of top stacks, you had a custom truck back then.
Yeah, you know, back then an 18-inch rolled in was a custom bumper.
From 61, when your dad started out, to today, what's a couple of the milestones for the company?
One of the guys that worked for us eventually went and started Western Wheel, and that took off, and you know how big that got. You know, today I talked about making 3 and 5 and 7 bumpers. Today we're building between 250 and 300 bumpers, and we're trying to go up right now. So it's gotten quite a bit bigger over the years.
That's impressive.
And we recently built our 1,000th bumper. So
oh,
that
wow.
was the beginning
Did
of
you
this
have a
year,
little celebration photo op?
We did. Yeah,
well, we were going to do that at Louisville.
Yeah. 1,000,000th. Wow, what a milestone. Obviously, we want to do the how it's made on a bumper, and clearly it's all going to start out as either a flat sheet of steel like we got here, or in some cases a sheet of stainless steel. So pick us up from this point, right?
Alrighty, so we're bringing in about 1 million pounds of sheet steel a month. You can see it stacked up right here. So what we do with this is we load it into this tower according to what size it is, goes on each shelf. So they'll load this thing up, and then this shuttle will take it to our 2 lasers over here, which will then cut the outside shape of the bumper into it. So what we're going to do next is we're going to walk over past this shuttle station and look at these lasers and see how the bumpers are actually cut out.
Sounds like a plan.
We're here at our fiber laser, so the shuttle station will bring the sheet steel over and place it in the laser. So then you can see the program up here on the screen. It'll tell it what outside shape to cut, and it'll cut, you know, different shapes on the same sheet of steel or maybe the same one. It all depends on what our production schedule is for the day. But you can actually load that shuttle station up and it'll run all weekend if you can get it full of enough steel. So it's really helped us out on our production.
Good point. You're not just running these things 8 to 5. Right now you're running full 3 shifts.
We are. We're running 24 hours a day.
You guys need bumpers? They're making them. 24 hours a day, darn near.
Right here is the steel after it's been cut on the laser. It'll shuttle it out down here. It'll automatically run it over here. So we're looking at the pallets of steel after they've been cut and pulled off the machine. They're set here, and then the employees behind us will break all the bumpers and the brackets out of the steel and sort it so we can do what we're going to do next to it. In the case of the bumpers, it's polish them. In the case of the brackets, we're going to actually bend them.
Behind us, I see your recyclable skeletons.
Yeah, that's going to all go to a smelter and get some recycle money back.
There you go.
We try and reuse everything we can.
We're here at the start of the polishing operation with our favorite employee, Rory the robot, and he's never missed a day of work yet, but he'll actually pick up the bumpers right here, put them on the conveyor, and from there they'll roll into the polishing equipment.
So I find it kind of interesting. In my mind, I had always thought you would cut, form, and bend the bumper, then polish it, but you're actually going to polish it in a flat state.
Yes, we do that nowadays. In the old days, we did it exactly the way you said.
Yeah.
But we're here at the polishing station. After the conveyor runs them through this machine, they'll come out on the other end polished, but it goes through 6 heads.
So let me get that right. It's going to go through once, come back, go through again, come back and go through again, each time getting a little bit finer on the
Exactly.
polish.
It's actually going through 3 times.
That takes a while.
So as the parts come out at the end of the line, we'll actually take a reading of the polishing finish with a tool that we use that tells us if the finish is good enough to be plated. So in the old days when we polished out here as teenagers, it was all visual. You'd get to know what a good finish looks like. Now we get to employ a little bit of science to help us so we can ensure that we're being as efficient as we can. When that part goes to plating, it's ready to get that chrome put on it.
Perfect. That's impressive.
So right here you see our hand formed press line. So they're in the process of making a boxed end bumper. The ones that we can't press in one stamp will all come over here and get bent.
So we can do various widths, various formations on them, tapered, square, whatever you want.
All right, so we're here at our 400-ton press. We have the tooling in it right now to press out a 02 or a 16-inch tapered bumper, and that's what they're doing in the background.
Obviously, you guys have to make custom tooling for every bumper configuration you got. What are they doing, 16-inch tapered ones here?
That's a 16-inch tapered, yes.
Yeah, and then you change out the tool,
Yes,
you can do an 18-inch box stand and so on and so forth.
So we're here at our Mazak laser. After the bumper's been polished and formed, then it'll come back over here and get the bolt holes, light holes, hitch holes, whatever hole it needs cut in it in the face. So we're basically done with the finish on the top of it. So we're gonna cut the stuff in it that we couldn't do before.
So every Valley Chrome bumper has a serial number that's more or less engraved on the bottom of it. It's also at this station, they're going to put the tag right dead center on the bottom flange of the bumper so everything matches up here.
Right, and that's also an RFID tag, so as it goes through the shop, we can figure out where it is.
I did not know that.
That's part of the traceability. You can find it at any station.
Where things hanging down, that's an RFID.
So these are radio frequency, you can actually track it when it's under your roof.
Correct. And when they go into the plating solution, it doesn't kill them, which is another big thing.
I had no idea.
So after the bumpers are cut out on the laser, they'll go down these rollers. And you see a welding station behind us, and we've got 3 or 4 welding stations, and the guys will pull them off the rollers and they'll weld the bumpers up and grind them and get them ready to go down to the top lip polishing, which is going to be the next station.
So that's a 24-inch wide bumper, which is definitely on the custom side. He's also selected the amount of light holes that he wants in it. So we call that bumper an as per the customer wants it. Yeah. So every custom bumper comes through with a traveler down the line.
You know, I love to see 24-inch bumpers because that means I'm going to sell this guy about 3 or 4 bumpers a year. I don't care who you are, you cannot drive long without bending this thing.
That's the truth.
That is minimal ground clearance.
Yeah.
But it does look cool.
It does look good.
It's a conversation piece for that old boy.
For sure.
Or in some cases, maybe it's just a show bumper. Good stuff.
Okay, so we're here at the top lip station. When they form it and when they weld it, they'll put some scratches or dents or dings or whatever in the top lip of the bumper. So that's all got to come out. So that's what this does, it polishes it all out. So we're here at the checkoff station. He's wiping the bumper down and inspecting it for scratches, dings, dents, pits, whatever blem will show up after the plating. You know, this polishing is like a paint job. The better it is before you paint it, or in this case, plate it, the better it's going to look afterwards.
So the bumper he's wiping down right now is one of the blind mounts you talked about. There's no holes in the face of it.
Right.
So we came up with a way of doing that a few years back.
Ray, I got a question for you. I want to tell you what I think and you tell me if I'm all wet. On the back of these bumpers, this plate right here, I've always kind of called that a backsplash plate, but does it have a purpose other than to keep snow and ice piling up in here?
If you hit something with that truck, this plate keeps the bumper from tying the tire up. So it'll hit that safety plate and it'll keep rolling. Otherwise it would lock that
right here
wheel up and you wouldn't have any steering. So, you know, a lot of OEM accounts, they require a certain size safety plate and welded in a certain way. So yes, that is a safety function right there.
Yeah, so there you go. Free factoid from 4 State Trucks. When somebody that's unfamiliar with the industry asks me about Valley Chrome Plating and I explain what you all do, then I tell them you're located in California, their reaction's always the same. They're plating in California, and what we're looking at here is a big commitment to what you guys do for the environment in your business.
Yeah, we actually started out about 25 years ago going in a direction to where we would put nothing down the drain. That's called zero discharge, and we've done that. When we started doing it, we had to build the systems ourselves because nobody was making it.
Yeah.
Now you can buy them turnkey, but we put nothing down the drain and we landfill nothing. Everything is either incinerated or recycled.
Well, let's see how these bumpers get plated and shiny once again.
Sounds good.
So we're here at the start of the plating line. The bumpers will come over on these racks here, and then they'll rack them up and hook them up to where they can pick them up with our hoist system. So what we're going to see first is they're going to go into an electro cleaner tank, which is a really hot, about 180-degree tank, and that gets all the dirt, oil, grease, whatever might be on that bumper. You know, again, it's like a paint job.
I'm sure. I'm looking down this line. I don't know how many tanks, but this process of tanks, it's like a block and a half long. I mean, this is no overnight deal putting this plating on.
Yeah. You know, we moved into this building in 1980, and this plating line was probably about half as long as it was now. And as we added the zero discharge and more capacity for plating tanks, we just kept adding and adding. So,
well, let's walk down here and kind of look at some of the tanks and solutions and kind of follow the process.
Alrighty. So we're here at the start of the line, and this is the pre-soak and the electro cleaner tanks. You can see them pulling a bumper up right now. And even though it soaks and gets most of the stuff off, we want to make sure so they sponge every one. So after the bumpers are washed, they'll go in this electro acid behind me, which is basically about 10% muriatic. So what that does is it just etches the surface of the steel and kind of roughs it up microscopically to where the plating will stick to it.
So part of the process isn't only making sure the concentrations are right, because we're zero discharge, we have to make sure there's not impurities in the tanks.
Sure.
So we have our own lab here that we're constantly running tests on all the tanks throughout the line.
I can see how that would be an absolute necessity.
So we try not to ever dump a bath. What we do is recycle it as much as possible. And these acids used to get dumped once a week. Now we'll go a year or two before we have to get rid of them.
I was just thinking that it's kind of hard to fathom, but with zero discharge, some of the liquids in these tanks could be the same liquid that was in there 3, 4, 5 years ago.
At least.
Just filtered, clean, filtered, clean.
Yes.
I knew I would see a lot of cool stuff today at Valley Chrome, but I had no idea I'd be seeing your laboratory.
Yes, exactly right. You know, in the old days, we'd look at stuff coming out of the plating and we'd say, you know, we need a little of this or a little of that, so we'd dump it in. And the problem was is you'd have highs and you'd have lows. It'd look real shiny or real dull. Nowadays, we have a complete lab, so we do testing all day long.
We can run a test and we know exactly what to do and when.
Yeah, you're using science, you're using hard data, and that probably is a requirement of your ISO certification.
It is.
Yeah.
We're finally done with the pre-plate, and these green tanks behind us are the nickel tanks. And the nickel tanks are like the plating, like the painting coat in a paint job. So the bumper stays in there for about an hour, and there's two different kinds of nickel. There's a dull nickel and a bright nickel, and what that does is it puts 2 layers of plating on, and it's a corrosion barrier. So the plating that we do today is about 10 times as corrosion resistant as it was 20 years ago. Behind me you can see the chrome tank, and where it'll stay in the nickel for an hour, in the chrome it stays in for about 3 minutes. It puts on about 15 millionths of chrome, but it's like a lacquer over the nickel. We can't live without it, and the nickel is kind of yellow. The chrome makes it kind of a clearer coat. So we're here at the final unloading stage of the chrome cycle, and you can see them picking the bumpers up after the chrome and rinsing them off. They're going to take them out, and then they're going to set them right down here, and then they're going to unrack them and go on to the rollers for our next process, which is the paint. So we're at the paint process. The bumpers come off the line, they've inspected it, they've flipped it over, and now they're rolling it in the paint booth to put the corrosion resistant primer on the back.
And you go back 4 or 5 years ago, Valley wasn't putting the protective coating on the back. It was just kind of a lightly chromed unfinished. I think
Yes.
this adds a lot of value for the customer.
It does, it looks so much better.
Sure. Every once in a while we'll get that phone call. Guy got his bumper home, he took it out of the box and he said, man, the bottom flange doesn't look like the rest of the bumper. And after what we've seen today, of course, you're focused on the ends, the top flange, and the face of the bumper, which is all covered by your 1-year warranty not to rust or peel. But the bottom of the bumper is where you have to attach it to go through all the tanks. Of course, you're not going to spend as much time and finesse on this bottom flange as you do the front. But I just wanted all of you all to know, don't get alarmed or concerned when you've got an occasional grinding mark or an imperfection on the bottom flange that incidentally is facing straight down towards the pavement. Right. Rest assured, all your Valley bumpers are going to look great on the front, the top, and both ends.
So we're going to try and do everything we can to ensure it's got the right coating, even if there are some little grinding lines on it.
You know, we're putting just as much plating on the bottom as we are anywhere else, but in some areas it's just not polished because it doesn't show. So we'll touch that up, and we also have a serial number that's right in the middle on the bottom of every bumper.
One more thing, on the stainless bumpers you do offer, they're polished stainless. They're not chromed over stainless. They're just a really nice polished finish.
Yes, we use a 304 stainless, which is a good grade of stainless, and it's polished when it's in the flat, so it's really mirror finish.
It's a non-directional polishing finish, so you don't see any polishing lines in it at all. It's really beautiful.
Gotcha. Well, there you have it, folks. Now you know what we know.
So once the parts come out and they're sprayed, they go through these heaters so we can get that paint to harden up, make sure there's no overspray left on the part, wax it down, bubble wrap them, and then they'll get packaged and go to the warehouse to get shipped out.
Okay, we're at the final stop for Valley Chrome bumpers, which is the warehouse. They've been boxed, now they're getting palletized and getting ready to ship out to 4-state and people all over the country.
Well, I know as far as 4-state, our #1 product category with you is the front and rear bumpers, but we still got the Wingmaster tour to do, don't we?
We do. We picked that company up about 15 years ago, and that's really been a great addition to our product line.
Let's go give the folks a snapshot.
All righty.
All right, so as we talked about, you guys also own the Wingmaster brand, which is stainless steel for the outside, inside of the truck, all sorts of things. The turbo wings, looks like we're smack dab in the middle of where it all happens. So kind of tell us a little bit about this department.
You know, back in the day, they just built the wings like you see one here being assembled. But since then, we've added visors, we've added cabin sleeper panels, we've added all kinds of accents, you know, mud flap weights, I mean, you name it, and we build it. It's shiny and it goes on a truck, we pretty much build it here.
And it just made sense for us. We're sending bumpers all across the country. Why not make some accessories and throw them on top of the pallet, going to the customers?
Your customer base was interested in both lines. Why not?
Right.
Yep. You know, looking around, I'm seeing air cleaner light panels, cabin sleeper panels, all sorts of fender trim. I mean, it's really a well-rounded brand. I know at Four State, we push a lot of that Wingmaster stuff out the front door.
We appreciate
Toolboxes
that.
has been another big popular.
Battery boxes, yep,
Battery
for
boxes,
sure.
toolboxes.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, even the turbo wings, which were kind of an 80s thing, they're actually making a bit of a comeback. Anything retro is getting a resurgence in popularity. So we're selling a few more of those today than we did a few years back.
And it's not only that they look good, but it gives the driver stability, fuel efficiency. Those are all big parts of the trucking game.
Yep. We used to say that by adding a turbo wing, you'd pick up at least 0.1%, and I think that's fairly accurate. You're not going to back me up
No,
on that?
I'm not sure those statistics. You'd have to ask Big
I heard
Brother.
it was more like 2 or 3%. But
I've heard as much as 10%. That's what I've heard at the truck stop, so it's got to be gospel. So we've wrapped up our tour here at Valley Chrome Plating. We've learned a lot today about bumpers especially, and I want to take a minute before we jump on a plane and head back to Missouri. Ray, why don't you introduce everybody here, the Lucas family and the family behind the Valley
I'd
Chrome
love
Success
to,
Story.
Brian. Hi, my name's Ray Lucas, and the family here is my brother Greg, Kent Carpenter, did sales for us for 30 years, my sister Kathy Bowie, my brother Matthew, my other sister Christine Newman, and our general manager, Tom Lucas.
Good at it too.
I can personally vouch for Kent's salesmanship. He's been my salesman for 30 years, and you're #1 in my book, buddy.
Appreciate that.
All right, I hope y'all had as much fun as we did, and we'll see you next time.
All right,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.
Bye.